Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload 6 days a week on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on this video. It takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. Today's video I decided to make after my video on whether or not Giannis choked in the 2019 playoffs, because I realized there was a critical flaw with the Milwaukee Bucks that I wanted to talk about in this video when I rewatched that video. The Milwaukee Bucks have been one of the most successful teams in the NBA over the last 2 years. The emergence of Giannis combined with a good system and great coach being put around him has led to a league best 60-win season last year and what would have been a 60-win season this year had the season not been suspended. However, this roster has a pretty clear flaw in it that led to the Bucks not being successful in 2019 and could lead to the same things down the line. The flaw is their shot creation. The reason that the Lakers are in the title, and that's what this video is about, is because I think there's a lot the Bucks and Giannis could learn from the duo of Kobe and Shaq. The lack of shot creation, I believe, has the potential to hold this team back, and I think it's something the Bucks should address sooner rather than later, with Giannis's free agency coming up in 2021. Let's talk about it. When I did that video on whether or not Giannis choked in the 2019 playoffs, I think I made one critical flaw, which is I really did not point to the reason why Giannis was susceptible to this type of defense so much. I wasn't critical enough of his game as some people might view it, because it was his play style that was the reason that the Bucks were unable to make the finals, because how he played was able to be easily defended when his teammates weren't hitting their shots. I basically said it was okay how Giannis played because the Raptors exploited his weaknesses, and that bothered some people because the argument was that Giannis lost because his weaknesses were exposed, so that proved that he wasn't as good as some people say, and that is certainly a reasonable takeaway from that. However, I have a different view of that. Bringing it to the Kobe and Shaq thing, I think holding it against Giannis that he is not a shot creator would be like holding it against Shaq that he couldn't do the types of things that Kobe could do. You've probably heard the take that Giannis is the modern day Shaq. I believe Shaq has even said that himself, and I tend to agree. He's the player in the NBA who most relies on his physical dominance from a combination of his size and athleticism, same as Shaq did when he played. But obviously, Giannis doesn't play exactly like Shaq. He dribbles the ball, he's more of a playmaker. I'd definitely say he's a much better defensive player, and even if he is bad at shooting, he's still much better than Shaq. But on the other end of the spectrum, I mean, Shaq is definitely more physically dominant than Giannis, but this is not, the point of this is not to compare those two. The point is, when you're criticizing Giannis for not being a shot creator, I really don't think that's valid, because you're basically asking Giannis to be Kobe when he's supposed to be Shaq. Would it be nice if Giannis could knock down pull-up mid-range shot after pull-up mid-range shot? Sure. Would it be nice if he could shoot 38% from 3? Yeah, of course. But I don't think that automatically disqualifies Giannis from being the first option on a championship team, because Shaq was able to be that 3 times despite the fact that he couldn't do those things. And even though, yes, the NBA in the early 2000s and the NBA today are very, very different, I don't have any doubt in my mind that Shaq could still be the best player on a championship team if he played in the modern NBA at his peak. I think most people would agree with that. Even if he wasn't the most modern type of player, even if the post game is nearly dead in the modern NBA, he could still be that guy. So I don't think, like many do, that Giannis can't be that guy because he isn't a shot creator or three-point shooter. I think what the Raptors exposed in the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals was not that Giannis cannot be a #1 option, but rather that the Bucks need to put a lot more shot creation around him to make up for that weakness. See, even though the Bucks are built very well around Giannis, I feel that can often be overblown, not just with him, but with players in general. I think the 2019 and 2020 Bucks are very similar teams to the late 2000s Orlando Magic. In this case, Giannis is in the position of Dwight Howard, where that was a team built around one physically dominant player with the method of the build being a bunch of shooters around that one player. So as a result, they allow that one player to dominate a lot easier because they have the space to do so. Bring help on Dwight Howard and you leave a shooter open. Bring help on Giannis, you leave a shooter open. It's pretty simple. But that Orlando Magic team had the same problem that this current Bucks team does, which was that even though it was a great fit and they did have a handful of really good players, they did not have any great ones to match with Dwight Howard, who could be a shot creator like that. There were players on this team who were okay at it, but none that were great. So when Dwight was having a bad game, or he went up against a defense that knew how to defend him, or his teammates were not hitting their shots, the Magic crumbled. Sound familiar? Same goes for the Bucks. When the Toronto Raptors built their defense to stop Giannis and it came time for someone to create shots, it didn't work out. Chris Middleton averaged 14 points on bad efficiency. Eric Bledsoe couldn't shoot for shit. Malcolm Brogdon isn't one to force shots and hit contested shots. So when the Bucks looked for someone outside of Giannis to create offense, it did not work, and that often was the same thing with the Magic. So when the Bucks needed someone to create offense on their own, it didn't fail every time, but it did most times. And the same thing applied to the Orlando Magic. Sometimes Hedo Turkoglu hit a big shot. Sometimes it was Rashard Lewis. Sometimes it was Jameer Nelson. But that was just sometimes. Sometimes for the Bucks, Chris Middleton would hit a shot. And that's actually it. So that's even worse because that's just one guy. Now I do see people being too critical of Chris Middleton because he's just an okay shot creator and not an amazing one. He's certainly no Kobe, but I don't think that's fair to him. He's just been miscast in this role. You can tell me all you want that, oh well, over the last 3 years, Middleton has averaged 20 points per game on pretty damn good efficiency. But at the end of the day, I know, you know, we all know that there is a long list of NBA players that we would all take over Chris Middleton to create his own shot and or make a shot with the game on the line. There are at least 20 players in the NBA that I trust to hit that shot. I trust to create a shot more than Chris Middleton, and that's not a knock on him, that's just the reality. So basically the point that I am trying to get to here is that the Milwaukee Bucks really need to make a push to get to the Kobe to Giannis's Shaq. The reason the title of this video is what the Bucks could learn from the 2000s Lakers and not the late 2000s Magic is because that team didn't learn that lesson either. If we look at the career of Shaquille O'Neal, the guy had the privilege to play with multiple great shot creators in his career. First it was Penny Hardaway, then Kobe, then Wade. There isn't a long list of Shaquille O'Neal game winners because that isn't what he did. He had Penny, Kobe, and Wade for that. The problem with Giannis isn't that he isn't Kobe, it's that he doesn't have Kobe. Just because Kobe was a better shot creator than Shaq, that doesn't mean he was the best player on those Lakers teams. It was very clearly Shaq. Zach LaVine is a better shot creator than Giannis. That doesn't make him anywhere near close to better than him. It just simply isn't Giannis's game, but that also is a necessary thing to have on a championship caliber team. A system is great, a well-constructed roster is great, but you need someone who can force offense from all areas of the court. Shaq was great, but he wasn't winning a title without a player like Kobe or Dwayne Wade. This doesn't mean that Shaq wasn't good enough to be the best player on a championship team, because obviously he was, because he's a 3-time Finals MVP. But he also needed someone like Kobe to be able to take that pressure off and be able to hit shots in big moments that he just wasn't able to make. Now, I'm not saying that the Bucks need to go out and get someone as good as Kobe, because that is a hell of a stretch. That is a ridiculous thing to expect. But they need someone who can be one of the top 20 at least players in the NBA at creating their own shot. Let's just say the Bucks managed to get a guy like Bradley Beal. Guy is a top 20 player in the NBA, certainly one of the best shot creators. He averaged 28 points a game this year. He can score in every area on the court while also being a good enough playmaker to run a two-man game with Giannis. A lesser option would be Zach LaVine. The guy is a great three-point shooter, pretty alright mid-range shooter, and he's one of the best slashers in the league, and a good ball handler. Now, I don't have an exact answer for how you go and get that guy. It's certainly not easy based on their cap situation and the fact that they don't have a lot of assets and their picks are not all that valuable, being that they're a very good team. But the Bucks need to make this push somehow, especially within this offseason, because I think this is the key to the Bucks winning a title or even making the finals. So doing this is essential because I and many other people believe that Giannis will leave if he loses hope in the Bucks' ability to win a title. Giannis very much needs to get a Kobe to his Shaq. Now again, that does not mean he needs to get someone as good as Kobe, but he needs a guy who can play off of him like that. Giannis's play style is still fantastic. Giannis is still good good enough on offense to be a #1 option on a championship team, but shot creation is not what he does, so he needs a guy that can do that for him. And just like with Shaq, there is no shame in that. Some players just do different things. Saying that Giannis cannot be a #1 option on a championship team because he can't hit a mid-range pull-up jumper is pretty similar to saying the same thing about Shaq. And when I say out loud, Shaq can't be a #1 option because he doesn't have a mid-range J, you realize how stupid that sounds. So that is what the Bucks could learn from the early 2000s Lakers. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.